This week we're going to look at how you can use decorators to simplify your debugging. Welcome to another MetPy Monday. Hello, I'm John Lehman, a software engineer for Unidata. This week I want to look at decorators, which we've talked about before and how to write them. But I want to show you a use of decorators that you may not have thought of that can greatly simplify your debugging. We all put print statements in places for debugging, but this is a way to replace those print statements with a decorator and really simplify your code cleanup process. If you need a quick refresher on decorators, I encourage you to go watch our earlier video, but the quick recap is a decorator is a function that takes a function and returns a function. So it's a way to encapsulate before and after behaviors for a function. And really, it's just a nice piece of syntax. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just something that Python has allowed us to do with a nice command. All right, so we're going to write a calculation that's a little bit complicated. And it's going to have multiple steps. Do calc 1 takes A, B, and C. And it's going to return A plus B plus C. Do calc 2 is going to take X, Y, and Z and is going to return X minus Y minus Z. Now don't forget our doc strings. Remember our empathy-driven development. So performs the calculation in equation 2 of Bob et al. 2002. And this is going to perform calculation in equation 1. But nothing too complex there. Then we're going to call calculate solution. That's what we'll call our next function here. It is going to take parameters A, B, C, and D. And this is going to be final solution for flux capacitor reactance. And it is going to return do calc 1, ABC divided by do calc 2, B, C, and D. I'm going to call calculate solution. And I'm going to call it with well, let's just give it some numbers. 1, 5, 6, and 9. So I run that function and I see the result of minus 1.2, and that's not what I was expecting. So maybe we're not writing unit tests for this. It's a relatively simple set of equations, right? But what do I do to debug this? Well, I'm probably going to start working out by hand equation 1 and equation 2 and then taking the ratio of those. But I need to know what the result is. So I'm probably going to do something like result equals A plus B plus C. I'm going to print calc 1 is result. And then I'm going to return result. Oh, those are parentheses there. Okay, so now I get my debug message, if you will. We've talked a little bit about debuggers, but that's a little heavy-handed for what we're trying to do here, and especially in the notebook. So what's a better way to do this? Because now once I find my problem, I've got to remember to go back in here, and I've got to hunt down all my print statements. We've all done it. Put, you are here 6 places in the code or something like that. All right, so now we're back to our state that we were. But that's a decent amount of work, especially if you're putting many of these print traces in. Well, let's write a decorator. called Debug. Remember, our decorator is a function, check, that takes a function, check, and it's going to return a function. I'm going to declare a wrapper that takes args and quargs. If you need a review on those, we also have MetPy Monday videos on using args and quargs. And here I'm going to put some prints. I'm going to put 80 star characters, then an F string that says calling function, and I want the function name that's being called. So func.underName. Now I'm going to put a new line character in and say our args are equal to args, another new line, quargs are equal to quargs. Then we're going to do our function call. So the result, we're going to call func with args and quargs. And I'm going to print the return of function. Again, I'm going to use the function name. Under name is result. And then I'm going to print another 80 and a new line. I'm going to return the result. But remember, that's a distinct thing. It could be an int or a float or a none or a figure. So to be a decorator, it needs to return a function. So we're going to return wrapper. Okay, so there's my debug decorator. What's it going to do when it gets past func? We're going to return a function that is going to print these things out before calling the func, store the result, print some more delimiters, and then return the result. So now if I want to see what's happening, I'm going to decorate the two parts of my calculation with my debug wrapper. And now I see calling function do calc1 with the arguments 1, 5, and 6, no quargs. The return is 12. Calling function do calc2 with 5, 6, and 9, no quargs. And it's minus 10. And I say, aha, that's what it is. It's supposed to be x minus y plus z, because that didn't match what I had done. And now we get 8, which gives me the final result of 1.5. This is a much easier to read output than trying to remember where I put print statements. And my cleanup, now that I've finished, is removing my two debug decorators, and now everything's back to normal. So again, not an incredibly difficult concept, but one that I don't see a lot of folks using is using decorators not only to make your code snazzy and concise, but as a debugging tool. I hope that you found this useful, and I'll see you on next week's MetPy Monday.